The Gospel Trail is a trail made by the Ministry of Tourism so we could actually walk in the footsteps of Jesus. From here on Mount Precipice, where Jesus is going to start his preaching and the people of Nazareth are going to kick him out. We'll then walk through the city of Nazareth, heading to the city of Sepphoris, Tsipori, where Jesus spent a lot of his childhood and teenage years helping his father learn how to be a carpenter and to help make stonemasonry work in the Mosaic city. It will then continue on with us all the way to the area of Cana, where the first miracle is going to happen in the wedding church, continuing to the Horns of Hedon, Mount Arbel complex, until we finally are going to get towards the Sea of Galilee, passing through the city of Magdala, where Mary Magdalene is from, all the way up to Capernaum, where he is going to meet his disciples and start his ministry. Welcome to the city of Nazareth. This is where Jesus is going to be growing up in his life, where he is going to be being taught by his father the industry of carpentry. To be able to connect that with us, the Ministry of Tourism has created this amazing trail called the Gospel Trail. We grow up reading the Bible, telling us the stories of Jesus, but we never quite grasp the distances. This trail will actually make us walk in the footsteps that Jesus himself would have taken, going all the way from here to the Sea of Galilee, from here to his work with his father in the city of Sepphoris, and everything in between. It really lets you grasp the Bible in the heartland of where all these events are going to take place. So as we journey on this path, the Bible is really going to be coming alive with us, walking in the footsteps, talking about the stories, seeing the same things that Jesus would have seen in his day. Nazareth, what a wonderful place for us to start. Nazareth is where Mary is going to have the Annunciation, where she finds out that she is going to be giving birth, a virgin birth, to Jesus. From here, Mary is then going to be going to Bethlehem, where she gives birth, and right after that they come back to Nazareth, to the Galilee, where Jesus is going to be raised. He's going to spend all of his young years here helping his father, learning his industry of carpentry, and growing up in this small little village of Nazareth, estimated to be only a couple hundred people maximum. Nowadays it is a bustling city with thousands of people living here, Christians, Arabs, and Jews alike, scattered throughout this whole area. Wow, what an incredible view we have. We have the modern day city of Nazareth, where Jesus is going to be growing up and spending most of his childhood and his teenage years. On top of that, as we continue going around in the haze, we can actually start to make out the mountains of Haifa, going into the Carmel forest, going into a beautiful overview of the whole Jezreel Valley. And we can see just how wide this valley is, going all the way from the mountains on the other side that we're going to see to the Haifa mountains. This is the area of Megiddo, where Armageddon is going to be happening. And if you can make out the mountains eventually on the other side, you will find the site of Megiddo, an amazing site that has history dating back to 31 different generations of people living there. On top of that, we have Mount Tabor, which is another amazing site in Jesus' history. In this site, this is where Jesus is going to have the transfiguration. Concluding with all that, we continue going around, getting right back to Nazareth. What an amazing 360 view that we have on top of this mountain of Mount Precipice. But not just that, as we continue looking, we can see that if we wanted to walk off this platform, it is a sheer cliff. Here on Mount Precipice, we have the story of Jesus trying to teach to the people here in Nazareth. But they do not like what he's teaching because it is different from what they are used to, and they threaten to throw him off the cliffs. We get a really good view of being on top of this mountain. If I were to just continue walking in a straight line, I would fall off the cliffs myself. What an amazing place to start our gospel trail.
Imagine walking where Jesus walked, where faith comes to life. Feel the Bible story unfold around you, from the green Galilee to Jerusalem's ancient streets. Experience the serene and welcoming land of the Bible, where miracles happen. Put your heart where his footsteps are. Visit Israel.
Welcome to the city of Sepphoris. Just an hour-and-a-half walk away from Nazareth makes this the heart of the Galilee. It'll actually become one of the capital cities in this region, especially during the time of Jesus. The city has a history starting from the Hellenistic era, prior to Jesus being born, throughout the history, through the Roman Empire, even going all the way up to the Ottoman Empire. So many layers of history, and the stones that I'm walking on are just incredible. We're walking on the Via Maris, the way of the sea, going all the way from Egypt up to Damascus. Everyone that is anyone is going to come to this city, and that's why this city becomes so prosperous and so rich and wealthy. On top of that, because we're only an hour-and-a-half away from Nazareth, when Jesus is growing up with his father, working as a carpenter, he was probably also working as a stonemason, because in this city, it was just starting to be rebuilt by the Roman Empire. So you can imagine Jesus being a boy, coming here with his father Joseph, coming to work with his hands to help build this amazing city that the Jewish people are going to continue living in for generation after generation, where famous rabbis are going to be walking through, making the laws of Judaism after the destruction of the temple, where the Sanhedrin are going to even sit for a long time. This city is amazing. Please come explore it with me. We have now hit the main intersection of the Decumanus and the Cardo, the two main roads cutting the city in different sections. The Decumanus cutting it from east to west, the Cardo from north to south, and this incredible Roman road. It's magnificent how the Romans were able to have this technology to build so well that the roads still last after 2,000 years. They have it arched so all the water can drip off to the sides of the roads. The stones are not horizontal and perpendicular. Instead, they're actually at an angle. Because of this, all the carts that are traveling through this road for all these centuries are able to go without making the stones shift and move. And as we're looking closely, as we're walking, you'll actually see where the carts were traveling for all these centuries in the roads, leaving their mark and their stain on this city. If you walk the same path so many times, your footprints will actually eat away at the stones, showing you how many carts would have gone through this region. Proof of us in Sepphoris of how common people were here all the time to come pick up their mosaics. They have left inside of the road the markings of the wheels of their vehicles. Thousands of years of people coming through here. It's pretty incredible to see. We have now entered into one of the most amazing rooms inside of this site. It has amazing mosaics from all different styles, all showing the Roman Empire in its glory. Because in Sepphoris, the biggest thing is, of course, we're on the Via Maris. They're very wealthy and they're very rich. So of course, they're gonna decorate everything in mosaics. And we have found and discovered over 40 mosaics throughout this whole site. And the area we're walking in, according to some archaeologists, this may actually be the site where you would go for your shopping. Kind of like going into a Home Depot, looking at different tiles and different floors, from the fancy to the expensive to the more lower class and cheap. You have a variety of all of it over here. The mosaic that we're looking at in front of us is depicting different scenes from Egypt. And we are portraying right over here, we have a Nilometer showing us that the Nile is up to the level of 17, showing great wealth and prosperity for the next year, because the flow of the water coming in is going to feed the whole Nile to be able to make all the agriculture. Following by the pagan gods, showing us the birth of the Nile with the hippopotamus birthing out from his mouth the waters of the Nile, flowing all the way to the grand city of Alexandria, showing us the lighthouse of Alexandria, still with its flame flickering, followed by all the animals of Africa that get their life from the waters of the Nile. So to show the wealth inside of a city, one of the biggest ways we can see it is because of the mosaic decorations that everyone uses. The more intricate and the smaller each tile is, the more labor intensive it is to create it, therefore the more expensive. On top of that, the more colors you use means you have to collect these stones from all over the trading route. And being here on the Via Maris, on the main trading route, we get everything coming from Europe, from Africa and Asia, all converged through this area. So when we look at our beautiful mosaics, we will find colors that come from all over this side of the world. Here on the main junction of the Cardo and the Decumanus, we have one of the beautiful palaces showing us an amazing mosaic of Orpheus, who is one of the Greek pagan gods that is able to charm everyone by his music. And we're seeing him charming all the animals of the region. But before I get overwhelmed with all the beauty that we have here in this amazing city, let's get back to the Gospel Trail. When you come here to the park of the National Park of Sipori, please make sure to check out all the amazing amenities. From the beautiful videos inside the park itself to the visitor center with a convenience store with cold drinks, clean restrooms, and of course, this amazing model showing you the whole city throughout the time periods. Sitting here in this beautiful theater reminds me of the word hypocrite and Jesus and his preachings of do not be a hypocrite. What is a hypocrite in the Roman era? The word Greek for actor is hypocrite. Those men that are wearing the mask in their robes, acting like something they are not. And Jesus teaches us, do not be a hypocrite. If you are true to yourself and true to the Lord, good things will happen to you. Inside of one of the most intricate mosaics we have in the whole Holy Land is the house of Dionysus. And that is exactly what you see in front of us. Dionysus is the pagan god of wine, and it shows depictions of his life. But even more impressive is the Mona Lisa of the Galilee. This beautiful woman, we can actually make out the shape of her lips, her earrings, every little detail on her face done in teeny tiny tiles in amazing detail. Jesus is preaching and starting to teach in Nazareth, but the people are not willing to listen to him. They actually kick him out from the city. So he flees the city, coming down the Via Maris, heading towards the Sea of Galilee, and he passes by Sepphoris with all of his childhood memories with his father working and learning. And he will eventually get all the way to the Sea of Galilee, to Capernaum, where he will meet his disciples and continue his ministry. And with that, let's get back to the Gospel Trail. Continuing this amazing journey on the Gospel Trail, we're going to be leaving Sepphoris and entering into the city of Cana. Cana is the site where Jesus is going to be going to a wedding with his mother Mary and his disciples. And at this wedding, they're going to run out of wine. And Jesus and his mother look at each other, and his mom, typical Jewish mother, is going to say, Jesus, now is your time to shine. Go help these people out, do one of your miracles. And Jesus goes and he turns water into wine, the first miracle that he does publicly. From Cana, we are going to continue our journey until we get to the beautiful Kibbutz Lavi. Along the whole Gospel Trail, there's many ways you can do this hike. From walking it by foot, average of 3 to 5 days, you can either camp out, go to a hotel, or even ride a horse throughout this whole travel. It's all depending on what you want. But after Kibbutz Lavi, which offers you a wonderful hotel to stay in and to learn about kibbutz life, we then continue on to the beautiful Horns of Hittin. The Horns of Hittin have a story going back to the time of the Muslims and the Crusaders. In 1187, Salah ad-Din is going to come conquer the Holy Land, And the Crusaders are going to try battling him, and here is where the Crusaders are going to fall. The beautiful horns of Heaton get its name from the same design with the horns on either side, looking like the altar that we have in Jewish synagogues and temples. Continuing our hike now, we are finally getting the first views of Mount Arbel, these amazing cliffs with the history from King Herod that sends down his soldiers to fight against the Jewish rebels, to also our first view of the Sea of Galilee. It sends shivers down your spine sometimes when you just think about all the history that happened over here. Welcome to the Arbel Nature Reserve. What an incredible sight this is, passing by all the carob trees to the top of this hilltop that ends in a sharp cliff going all the way down to the Sea of Galilee. It's a perfect site for anybody that wants to come here and just enjoy the wonders of the nature and the geomorphology that we have to see. We have made it to the top of the Arbel Cliffs. What an amazing view we have with the Sea of Galilee, being able to see all the way around it today. It's pretty incredible. Here on Mount Arbel is the place that King Herod is going to be coming to, sent by the Romans to calm down the Jewish population because they are revolting against the Romans. And King Herod, with the brilliant engineering plans that he has, sends down cranes with the soldiers down to the caves where all the Jews are hiding to be able to slaughter them. Horrible days this place has. But many years later, during the time of Jesus, after Jesus' resurrection, he's going to be standing here with his 11 disciples and telling them, go forth from this place to the rest of the world and spread my word. What an incredible event that happens right where we are standing. After climbing up all the way to the top of Mount Arbel, it's kind of nice to sit down and be able to think while we're staring at all the places of the heartland of Jesus' teaching. Here along the coastline of the Sea of Galilee, Jesus is going to be preaching many different stories and having many different miracles happening. From on the other far side in the area of Kursi, he's going to find a man that is taken over by a legion of demons. And he's going to take those demons out of his soul into a herd of swine, and those swine are going to run off the cliffs into the water, dying. On top of that, you also have Magdala, where the story of Mary Magdalene is going to be coming, with a beautiful synagogue that Jesus probably had his teachings over here also. Going all the way up into the mountains of the city of Chorazim, Jesus is going to be trying to teach the people of Chorazim, but they reject him. And Jesus is insulted by them and rejects them also, saying that you need to become more devout and follow what I am trying to teach you. It is just so impressive to be able to look at all these different sites and actually see them in front of you. The stories that you read in the Bible on your daily prayers throughout the year, we're actually here staring right at them. As we continue our journey here in the Gospel Trails, we have many different trails we could take. Here in the Arbel, we have a family-friendly hike that just circles the top of the mountain. We also have the daring climbing down ladders, getting all the way to the bottom of the mountain. So you choose which one you're more daring to do, but the trail will continue going all the way to the Sea of Galilee.
I will bless those who bless you, God promised Abraham. Embrace this covenant by connecting with the people of Israel. From Jerusalem's stones to Galilee's shores, experience living faith through their traditions and hospitality. Your journey is more than visiting biblical sites. It's about hearts that welcome your friendship. Your presence matters. Discover Israel.
We have finally reached the end of the gospel trail. It ends at Capernaum, the town of Jesus. This is where Jesus is going to come on the Sea of Galilee and start his ministry. He's going to be staying at Peter's house, going to the synagogue, preaching his words, finding his disciples, and starting to make all the amazing miracles he has here on the Sea of Galilee in Capernaum. Capernaum, the town of Jesus. After Jesus is kicked out of Nazareth, he comes all the way to Capernaum where he will be starting his preaching. He will find his disciples and start his teachings. He spends a lot of his time in this region. It's said he starts here around the age of 30 until his crucifixion in the year 33. And he will start with Peter, in Peter's home, staying with him, healing his mother, making one of his miracles, healing a paralytic, and many other miracles that are happening right in the area that we are. We are still part of the Via Maris, the main road with the Romans going all the way to Damascus. The town that was built here was built by the Romans also, so it comes in a very gridlock pattern. One of the fascinating things about this town is also the tax collectors were very important, because anyone traveling on the Via Maris has to go through tax stations. So people coming through here will pay for taxes. But your average Jew that was living here in Capernaum at the time were fishermen. It is a wonderful spot right where the mouth of the Jordan River is entering into the Sea of Galilee, churning the waters, making it the perfect breeding ground for the fish, one of which we know is tilapia, also known as the St. Peter's fish. So in the waters right behind me, we have also the miracle of the multitudes, where Jesus is going to be able to feed the multitudes of people with all he had was a couple pieces of bread and a couple fish. He tells his disciples to keep breaking them apart and keep handing them out, and it keeps going, and it satisfies everyone inside of his crowd. What amazing location. All the different miracles that have happened here. There are so many more to list, but that'll take me all day for that. In this incredible site, it is divided by two main owners. One being the Greek Orthodox, who have left the land as it is and have a beautiful monastery. The other one, archaeologists actually were able to go inside, and it's owned mostly by the Franciscans. And inside, archaeologists discovered the actual city of Capernaum. One of the biggest finds and the most beautiful find we have, it's called the White Synagogue. It actually is a synagogue dating back to the 4th or 5th century, the Byzantine era, when Christianity is actually thriving, but we still have Jews living all the way over here in the Galilee. What is really cool about it is when they were digging through this Byzantine synagogue, they removed the floor, and they actually found the remnants of the original synagogue down below. Wow, this may have been the actual synagogue that Jesus was doing his teachings in, because just beyond that, a little bit away, a stone's throw away, we have the remnants of a beautiful Byzantine church. This church is very unique because it's shaped like an octagon. Why an octagon? Because when Jesus preaches on the Mount of Beatitudes, he has his 8 benedictions that he says, the 8 special blessings. And that is why we have churches shaped as octagons throughout the Byzantine era. And with this, on top of it, we now have the modern day church that has a beautiful glass panel in the middle, so you can actually look directly into Peter's home. One of the most beautiful things at the site that they have, besides all the archaeology and all the history, is they've also made beautiful benches and beautiful circles all over the site for groups to be able to stop, collect their thoughts, pray, remember everything that happened here, or just meditate on everything that happened. It's pretty incredible. Very peaceful way for you to be able to spend your time and spend your evening. We have completed our amazing journey along the Gospel Trail, starting in Nazareth at Mount Precipice, going all the way past Cana and Sepphoris to the beautiful Horns of Heaton, all the way down to the Sea of Galilee. What an amazing journey this has been together. We have really walked in the footsteps of Jesus. For me, this allows me to really get more into depth of actually being in the location where all these amazing events have happened. I hope you guys have enjoyed.
Join me next week on Land of the Bible as we uncover the world of the Crusaders, their faith, their battles, and the enduring legacy they left in the Holy Land. Thank you for watching. Make sure to join us next time as we connect you to the people, places, and land of the Bible.